It's your friendly neighborhood skeptic. And today, I want to talk about that damn Mike Tyson fight. I tried to stream and Netflix, stop that shit. Man, these people is straight up fraud. They trash. These people is trash. That Mike Tyson fight was such a mockery. But that goes to show you that boxing and a lot of these other sports ain't what we think they are. It's all a show. Just like in football, you can get hurt, but it's not a contact kill sport. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty much everybody has a role to play and they have to stay within that boundary of that role. That's the same thing boxing is. Anytime you got somebody in the ring that can break up the fight when it's seeming like it's unfair, it's staged. Because ain't nothing unpredictable is gonna happen in the fight. Especially not somebody getting seriously hurt. And everybody that's gotten seriously hurt in boxing and a lot of these MMA fights, if you didn't see it in real time, then it could be fabricated. It could be made up. Yeah. But I was sitting here, well, not sitting here, doing my workout, and I was just thinking, man, it's more popular to be a flat out liar, and I think people even want you to lie to them. It's popular to be a flat out liar than it is to be just somebody that's honest. I'm not going to even say tell the truth because you ain't even got to say nothing to be honest. You just don't have to give your opinion. You don't have to say nothing. Because if you feel like you're going to say something that's going to be a lie, you shouldn't say it at all. So it's more popular to be a liar than it is to be somebody that's honest. Just quiet. See, because they look at you like you a beta. You don't speak up for yourself. But when you speak up for yourself and everything comes out as a lie, then it's no better than somebody that's not saying nothing because everything you say is supposed to be mute. And I'll be looking at this stuff, man, and we following, now that social media is the new, media that people listen to, it's going to be a lot of deception. They got so many people running game on these platforms, on social media. It's a shame. And you got so many victims. You got so many people lining up to be victimized by this shit. And then these platforms, they're so biased, they won't even let you say what you want to say about these chosen ones. They stop that shit right off the bat. You got flat out people that be saying racist shit about other people. They don't get stopped once. And yeah, I'm talking about black people. Saying racial shit about other racial groups. You know what I'm saying? They don't even get looked at. I tested it. These platforms would rather you be racist than be against it. They'd rather you be a racist than be against it. Because if you try to point out the racism, they say that's slander. And that's that's talking shit about other people, hate speech and shit. So to me, all of this shit is like a big ass game, man. It's a big ass game. They don't care about what you really think. They're not really trying to touch the community or help the communities. These people just want to get paid, and they see the fastest way to do that is to be dishonest. That's the fastest way to get paid in this industry. If you ain't telling lies about somebody or slandering them, for good reason, because if you got a good reason to do it, they don't want to hear that shit. You gotta just be loud at people for no reason. All right, so if you ain't doing that, then you ain't gonna make no money. You ain't gonna get no traction on this shit. You gotta be pretty much the worst motherfucker there is out here in order to get traction. Any traction. You gotta be saying shit about people. You gotta be making people feel so fucked up. And then on top of that, you gotta be virtue signaling, telling people, oh, we've been treated so badly. But then again, you ain't learned from the bad shit that you say that's been done to you. You ain't learned that, going after somebody for their race and the color of their skin is bad because supposedly it happened to you. You ain't learn from that. So in my opinion, none of that shit happened because the average person that been through trauma wouldn't traumatize somebody else. So it's all an act. And that's really what's going on. It's all an act. Traumatizing somebody because you've been traumatized. Hold on. So I had to make sure that before I started doing this shit, I had to make sure that I was prepared to be shunned in this motherfucker, man, because it's not a even playing field. I don't see how certain people, right, can get away with doing shit that they say other people did to them, and now all of a sudden they feel justified from it. That's just crazy. But that just goes to show you, man, that all of this shit is a test. It's a test to see where you located at in this existence. Are you one of them or are you not? What I mean by are you one of them or are you not means that just like people sit up and talk about the Masons and the Illuminati and all this shit, they try to separate themselves from these people because they feel like these people have something to hide. Well, believe it or not, everybody's a Mason. Everybody's a Mason. If you've ever pledged to allegiance, if you've ever filled out an application, if you've ever said amen in an establishment with hundreds of other people, you are a Mason. You are an idol worshiping individual, and you feel like you have something that everybody else don't have. You have a special relationship in whatever masonry establishment that you're in. When you're working on the job and you working there and you've been there for years, you have seniority. Guess what? That's a step in masonry. You are in the masonry freaking organization. So you might as well get used to it. So when you hear all these people talking about Masons and they doing bad and they doing this and they doing that, these people ain't doing nothing but caping for themselves because they know that they Masons as well. Especially if you've been studying this shit for years. If you've been studying this shit for years and you're an avid, reader and scholar in religion and in business, especially if in business. Oh my goodness. If you in business, we are practicing masonry work. When you start your LLC, that's what you got to do. You got to check in with the biggest organization or corporation of the land. The same thing with the Masons. The same thing with the Masons. The Masons they fall up under the Prince Hall Masons, the Irish Masons, and all this shit. So when you're going out there and you're getting a corporation and you starting your LLC, you are applying for a position as a adept of masonry, because that's what built this nation. A nation of secrecy, a nation of organizations that guarded their information like it was a religion, because other people, if they acquired that information, would be able to capitalize on it and use it against them. Everything they do is masonry. Same, all this shit that's going on with boxing, with any sport that you're in, you are. Yeah, got a call from my wife, and I just started doing this while I was talking to her. But pruning up these peppers, I'm about to take it for cuttings, because I'm going to transplant these once they grow new roots. I've already done dozens of tomato plants, so this is my little propagation. I'm gonna take it in when I get done. But pruning up these plants, I'm noticing that the cold air is starting to get to them. I need to cut off all of this undergrowth, so this shit could flourish. But back to what I was saying about all of this crap about people that it's more popular to be a liar than it is to be, somebody that's honest. I'm not saying a truther, because they even have a flawed sense of what the truth is. Just somebody being honest, somebody that can honestly say, if I don't have no say in what's going on, I don't have nothing, no inputs, I'll just be quiet. People don't do shit like that. Everybody wants to have something to say, and when they do, 90% of it's a lie. If they say that they doing something and it can't be, clarified by you, or checked and seen that they're doing it, then 90% of that shit is a lie. I think I'm gonna get this one too. Looks like it's at the right point. But yeah, it's just a bunch of shit, man, that we as people have to disown. Just disown the shit. So when I take the cutting, I scrape off the bottom and then I throw it in the water. You can do this. Hold on, let me cut the end off of there. You can do this and you don't need rooting hormone right at the beginning. So my peppers are they doing pretty good, because I got some coming in. It's just that they taking their time because it's cold. And usually in the wintertime, it does take a long time, even if you do have, an area like a greenhouse, because, these peppers, they've already produced peppers before. It's just that, you keep them in here, they go to seed. Then after they produce all their seed, then they start to go back into veg. But since the light schedule was off, like right now in the wintertime, the light's kind of off. It ain't an 18 and 6, light schedule. Right now it's a 12-12 light schedule. So the vegetation period is short. So what I'm going to do with those that I already got, I'm going to take those and re-veg them so I can get a lot of green. And that right there will boost, when I get ready to throw it back into flower, it'll boost my yield. But I already got peppers on here. These, and they're not bad. They a little small. Yeah, and it's going to take them a little bit longer to get bigger. But they're there. They're doing their thing. And see, I'm looking at plants like I look at people. Because I'm not saying people are similar or resemble plants. But I do realize that at some point, you got to cut off the bad shit so the healthy shit can grow. You know what I'm saying? Some people are like that too. You got to cut them off in order for other people to grow. In order for you to grow, you got to cut them off. And sometimes it hurts you, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it make you grow back 10 times as bigger. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll get set back for a couple of months. And that's what I look at with these plants and shit. The same way people act. And I think this is a learned behavior because people aren't supposed to act like anything other than other people. We got people up in here thinking that we are closer to the animals than we are to each other. They treat their dogs, their cats, their horses, they treat them like humans. They talk to them, they give them affection like they would a human. And these animals aren't supposed to be treated like that. Animals in nature don't give each other affection like that. So why are we doing it? It's because we can't find anybody that relates to us, that'll listen to our bullshit, that'll put up with our, dysfunctions and shit. So we look for other things that could substitute people because people are going to give you what you get in. Eventually a person gonna realize you just a fucking crazy ass, and I can't put up with your shit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, tell you about yourself and move the fuck on. See, animals don't do that. See, you could, and really animals ain't that hard to deal with. All you gotta do is give them a place to stay, give them some food, give them some water, and just pay attention to them. That's it. But see, we go overboard. We let them live in the house with us and shit. Fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? We let them live in the house with us. We let them shit and piss where we lay. You know what I'm saying? We let them eat. We buy them food and we let them eat our food. That's not the way things are supposed to be, man. I was looking at a video the other day at a guy. He had this dog, and the dog ran out the house and bit somebody. And I said, if that was me, I would have shot that dog. You know, just based off the fact that dog is acting out of character. See, dogs, right, aren't supposed to attack, unbeknownst. They're not supposed to attack without reason because they're pets. They're not wild. If you got a pet that's a domesticated animal, it's not going to react to situations like a wild animal. A wild animal will attack you out of fear, out of aggression and territorial shit, and even out of sickness. Because a lot of these animals is walking around, and we think just because they look clean and shit that they healthy. Nah, they got fucking rabies, they got distemper, they got freaking all kind of shit that's going on in their body. Just because their coat looks, fresh and their eyes look clear and shit, but these animals are really suffering because that's the nature of nature. It's not meant for these animals to live indoors and to take vaccines to get rid of parasites. It's for them to eat and survive as long as they possibly can in the environment that they're familiar with, which is outdoors. When you get a dog and you bring it indoors, now it's like a human. It's not a human, it's actually like a chimera or some type of homunculus, because now the dog has to try and imprint on the human, which is totally opposite what it's supposed to be doing. Animals that imprint on humans become a problem because that's the actual definition of bestiality. Not having sex with an animal, but when an animal imprints on you and looks at you like it's their kin, they're not supposed to look at you like that. That's why people are getting attacked by their own pets. You know what I'm saying? Because these animals have an identity crisis. They don't fucking know what the hell, they supposed to be doing. They don't know their place. See, an animal is not supposed to be on the same level as a human. If you at home sitting on the couch with your dog or your cat, nigga, they in the wrong spot. That's why they got these identity crises. They belong outside. They walk on all fours. They eat shit. They kill other shit. They eat grass. We don't do that. That's why they shouldn't be in our environment. And you wonder why when somebody come over your house, your dog or your cat be trying to kill them motherfuckers. He's in an identity crisis. He don't know what his role is. His role is to be beneath humans, not be on the same level and be as a wild animal. It's to be beneath humans. It's to be a human spectacle, if to so to say. We're supposed to watch them and admire them for their ability to be not only in nature, but to be around us as well. See, if we did shit like that, we wouldn't have these out of control pets because they're just doing what the owner allows them to do. And watching that video of that man allowing that dog to go out there, and he did allow him because if he didn't allow it, the dog would have never did it. Go out there and bite somebody, and then say, "Oh, it's a dog." No, fuck that. That's just like a handgun. You gonna let the handgun be fall into the wrong hands so it can go out there and do whatever's intended to do, which is to shoot. And if somebody is pulling the trigger, and that's what a dog is. A dog is just like a weapon, that you as the owner is supposed to have full control over. There's not supposed to be any time that your weapon is out of control or out of your control. And if it does, you're not supposed to have that weapon. And that weapon needs to be destroyed or it needs to be put somewhere where it can be controlled. And this is the shit that a lot of people don't understand because humans are out of control. That's why we do shit like kill each other. And you see what we do to humans that kill other humans. We lock their ass up and we put them to death. So your pets they're not even like us. They shouldn't even be on the same pedestal as us. If your dog shows any type of an aggression towards you or anybody, it's automatically supposed to be put down. Supposed to be put down. Because you're talking about a weapon that has the ability to think for itself. And what if it's not thinking right? Then it's just an out of control fucking weapon. It's just like a gun that has an automatic trigger finger for it, where it doesn't need you to be there to pull the trigger. Now it just has a built-in trigger finger. So now weapons do kill, not people killing with weapons. So I look at shit like that. I'm gonna take one more cutting off this plant right here that I've been looking at just now. This one right here. But yeah, I be looking at that shit, man, and I be telling people, you're not a good steward of your animals. And some of us aren't good stewards of each other. I mean, shit. Look how we've been doing each other for all these years. We've been lying to each other for over 70 years. You know what I'm saying? Over 70 years we've been lying to the youth and to young adults about what their history was, about where we're at, and what we're supposed to be doing. We've been lying to each other. Take this shit in. It's kind of cold out here. But eventually the lies are going to stop because people are going to understand that it's a lie. And you see me trying to avoid saying that people are going to be woke because that's not how it works. You don't fall asleep. You need an awakeness. Sleep takes a while. In order to fall asleep, you got to be calm. You got to be in a relaxed situation. You got to be in an area where you don't have to worry about somebody invading your privacy. You ain't got to be like that. Let me find a good spot for this. See, with these cuttings, you have to have a place where the water is not going to get cold. After a certain temperature, if the water gets down below 70 degrees, your cuttings aren't going to survive. They're going to get what they call, they're going to get not root rot. It's sort of like a root rot, but the plant will die from where the roots are supposed to go. It'll die from that point all the way out. Because to tell you the truth, plants, they need an anaerobic and they need aerobic, like at certain points, aerobic and anaerobic water types. When you first cut them off, this is what I noticed. When you first cut out your plant, they need aerobic. That's like aerated water. And then as they get mature, and start forming roots, they need anaerobic, unaerated water, water that's not too oxygenated, because the oxygenated water contains bacteria in it. And the bacteria is what's eating and drinking the water, creating enzymes for the plant to grow roots. What we would call rooting hormone, right? We think it comes from the plant, but it actually comes from bacteria. Now, rooting hormone is like urea and fecal matter from the bacteria. And that right there connects to the plant and causes a reaction, almost like a budding, or, like budding. Causes a budding in the water, which we notice and call roots. I can't remember the guy that was talking about that, who was saying that your roots don't grow from the plant necessarily, they grow from the bacteria that's in the medium you put the plants in. Because I've put plants cuttings in dirt where there's no oxygenated water. It's just dirt. You know what I'm saying? And it roots. So the dirt has a lot of bacteria in it. And when that bacteria comes in contact with plants, if the plants are not producing any sugars, chlorophyll, then what the bacteria does, it makes the plants create chlorophyll. So what it does is, just like flies puke up on their food and then they re-eat it. The bacteria will eat the plant, defecate and urinate on it, and the plant will have a reaction that's called rooting, like budding. Just like if a mosquito bites you on the arm, where the mosquito bit you, your skin rises at that point. That's a budding. You know what I'm saying? We call it a mosquito bite, but it's actually an allergic reaction that your skin has to the mosquito bite. And it's protecting your body so the mosquito's saliva and venom and all that shit doesn't circulate through your body and causes a negative effect. Like bee stings, the reason why a lot of people have allergic reaction to bee stings, and this is something I heard a long time ago, it's because their skin layers aren't healthy in the first place. And if you got thin skin layers and a bee stings you, its venom goes straight into your bloodstream. So you have a negative reaction right off the bat. But people that have healthy skin, which they call thick skin, the bee sting won't penetrate the layers of skin that you have. It'll settle in the skin and cause an irritation at the surface, but internally, the bee's venom is not going, or the bee's toxins aren't going through your entire body. So these are some things I picked up on just by growing little indoor plants and shit like that. Watching the plants root in water, like propagation. And me and my wife, we do a lot of propagation. Here's our propagation station right here. The roots come off of the plant, right? And they say it's because of a hormone that's in the plant. But if you ain't got that much of the plant that's growing, and you don't really have it on some type of nutrient, then what's causing the roots to sprout from that plant cutting? And in my opinion, it's the reaction from the bacteria that's in the water. It's like the bacteria in the water. If you can see these little buds right here on the, I don't know if you can see them, look like little pocks or little cankers on the roots right here underwater. New roots are going to come out of those cankers. Now, those cankers are caused by bacteria. They're not caused by water. And the root cutting, the cutting that's coming off of here, it's not big enough to have any hormones in it. And it doesn't make sense to me that there's a hormone that's coming out of this. Take, for instance, this right here. The leaves and everything are underwater, right? And this is not a water plant. That's the same plant right here that stays out of water. But you see how the leaves underwater are still producing roots? And this is unoxygenated water right here. This is anaerobic water. This is water that has little to no oxygen in it. And what's happening is the plant is being energized or being massaged or even agitated by the bacteria that's in the water. And bacteria is in all water, right? The only way you get rid of bacteria is through conventional means. And the only way we're going to be able to get rid of all these dumbass people that's saying all this dumbass shit is through conventional means. We're going to have to cancel them, from us, cancel our services to them. Because I hear people say shit that you wouldn't normally hear other people say. For instance, I heard somebody say the other day that, you know what, black people are being made fun of. But these are the same people that's saying that black people are trash. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to play it for you so you can hear what I'm talking about. When you're talking about black people are trash because you feel a certain kind of way about them when you don't get what you want because your virtue signaling ain't strong enough. So check this shit out. And this is a well-known YouTuber. And he has said shit that's contradictory to what is supposed to be said as a black person. Let me see here.
YouTubers like the Poetic Flacco, I'm subscribed to him. He say everything, Thomas. He even called black people Neanderthals.
You see, how you gonna complain about somebody saying that somebody's Neanderthals when you're saying shit like, let me find it here. When you're saying shit, where is it at? Can I find it? When you're saying shit like this,
fucking trash. Black people are fucking trash. This culture is trash.
Hold on. But you just now said that, somebody's calling your people Neanderthals. But you can say that they trash. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lot of YouTubers like the Poetic Flacco. I'm subscribed to him. He say everything, Thomas. He even called black people Neanderthals. That's calling you a monkey, bro. You know what a Neanderthal is? If a white man...
You see how they quick to run to racism? And they the racists themselves, not only against other races, but to themselves.
People are fucking trash. This culture is trash. It's fucking trash. Gobble. And you can put coon on my tombstone. I don't like this black shit. I don't like black culture, man. Oh.
So in other words, you don't like black people. And this is the type of shit that I'm talking about when I'm saying that some people ain't who we think they are. They have a totally different agenda. And they have a totally different way of looking at things, than the average person does. Because if you can change up your approach at will, are you really dedicated to your subject? Are you really dedicated to your subject? If you calling black people trash, but then you complaining that somebody else is calling black people another name, then are you saying that y'all in favor of this shit? This is why I never believed in racism. I never believed in this shit. Because anybody can be a prejudice against something. Anybody can. See, and I used to always be like, God damn, all these black people say that they being discriminated against because of their color. But then again, they're the ones that's openly, publicly discriminating against people. I don't understand this shit. I thought that if you were discriminated against, you would empathy for another person, that if you see them being discriminated against, you wouldn't discriminate. But no, it's like that right there, just because you have a history, which I think is fabricated, of being the minority and being discriminated against, that gives you the right to just spew all kind of rhetoric about people and talk shit to them and tell them that they ain't nothing. Talk about they race because you have some type of seniority over them. Because of the narrative, and that's no better than anybody else that claims that they're a victim and become a victimizer. In the same time, that's like to me, that's fabricated. That's made up. A victim, a real victim, is not going to become a victimizer, especially not the same type of victimizer that victimized them. When something traumatic happens to you, you're not likely to turn that traumatic incident into motivation to traumatize other people. That just doesn't make sense to me. So when I hear these guys up here talking about this shit, talking about, black people and white people, I take that shit with a grain of salt. And when I see these videos of so-called people being victimized by a certain race of people, I know for a fact that's not a widespreading type thing. That's actually an isolated incident. And yes, the person could be, a victim of racism, but we don't live in a country of racists. That's like saying everybody you come in contact with that's ever committed a crime, right? That means that all their descendants are going to be criminals. So that means that everybody is a criminal just based off the fact that their ancestors were criminals. And see, I don't think that we should be doing that shit, man. I don't think we should be looking at shit like that. I think that we need to be judging everybody for what they do on an individual basis. For you religious people, testing the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand what their role is when they're doing things like that. Fill up this jug again so I can go out here and water these plants. When your plants have roots and they've been rooted in the ground for a while, I find that aerating your water time to time when you're feeding them or when you're watering them will cause the plant to grow more roots. Almost like it's pulling them back into that stage where they were cuttings. Like if you're cloning plants, the first water you give them needs to be RO aerated water, oxygenated water, because what that'll do is that'll maintain the bacteria that's in the water and the bacteria that's on the plants, because the only reason why the bacteria is on the plants is to get oxygen. It's to eat the liquids that the plant creates. That's the only part of the plant that creates oxygen. It's the chlorophyll. The leaves don't create oxygen. Matter of fact, the leaves create CO2 and eat CO2. You know what I'm saying? So if you're eating food, right? Let's say you're drinking water and you get sick and you puke up and you puke and you just finished drinking water. You're not going to puke up the food you ate last week. You're going to puke up that water. And that's what plants are doing when they're releasing gases. They're puking up or they're regurgitating up what they're intaking. And if they're intaking CO2, how are they puking up oxygen? And these are just common sense type shits that most people don't understand. They just follow what they're told instead of observing it. And I meet a lot of people that believe in strange shit. But when I tell them shit like that, about plants not creating oxygen, the only oxygen that they're creating is chlorophyll, which is water. They're like, hold on, plants create oxygen, because they're only referring back to what their science teacher told them and what they're teaching us. They're not watching this shit, right? If your plants need CO2 to grow, what do you think they're going to produce. They're going to produce the same thing that they need to survive. I mean, we don't produce gold when we eat food. We don't shit out a gold brick. We shit out the food that we had in our bodies, that we consumed. You know, and the only way plants are consuming oxygen is through water. You know what I'm saying? When there's only 2% oxygen in the air that we breathe, and there's 80% CO2, right? That means that most of the air we breathe is CO2. It's not concentrated, but it's still CO2. So we need more observers and more critical thinkers than we do preachers, rappers, and scientists. I think science is bullshit. Science is bullshit because they're teaching us everything other than what we should be knowing. How in the hell most of the science that they teach us is counterproductive to nature, to natural order? You know, they tell us that animals go extinct. How are animals going extinct when you had to go out and look for the ones that are still around? And so the only way you can base your extinction theory off of these animals is if you didn't find more of that animal. You see what I'm saying? So it's bias. They're talking about the gorillas and all that shit are going extinct. Just because you ain't find none don't mean these motherfuckers disappeared. Or that they've been all killed off. Excuse me. Got the fucking hiccups. So when I be looking at shit, I always play the skepticism game. You know, don't believe something when you first hear it. Think about it and then try to play it out in your mind. And if you can't play it out in your mind the way that they say it, and it makes sense, then 99 times out of 10, it's not gonna be real. It's not real. And then, but then again, some people got some twisted ways of thinking. They have some weird ass imaginations, so they can put a lot of this stuff into reality for themselves, like space travel and all of that shit. But you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Another thing with these plants, let me see, do I still have my scissors on me? When you first take these cuttings, right, and you put them in water, before you start to put them in dirt, you need to trim them up. And you need to take all the big fan leaves and you need to serrate them. And what that does is it causes the plant, right, to concentrate on making roots other than, I'm not saying cut them off. It causes the plant to concentrate on making roots. What I mean by making roots is it causes the plant to like go within itself and protect its most vital parts, which is the base of the plant where it was cut, because that's where all of the nutrients come from. So when you cut them leaves, the plant is going to automatically try and go into this hibernative state to protect itself and keep itself alive. And that's when it starts protecting itself from the bacteria and creating those buds or creating those shoots or that canker. So, and then when you serrate the edges of the leaves, they need to be moistened, because now you want the plant to think that it's in an environment where those damaged leaves can actually support growth as well. Because when we look at a plant, we think of the roots as being the only thing that brings in moisture, when in actuality, the leaves are the above ground roots of the tree. That's why if you ever had a chance to dig up a tree totally, like this is only when you get ready to, if you're gonna destroy it, you will see that the roots, if you're able to, will be just as bushy and just as full as the leaves and the branches above it. It would even resemble it a little bit. Like for every branch, you're gonna have a root that resembles it. the thick branches, the trunk, all of that shit. The trunk in the root system is the taproot. And the branches are the roots that seek out, water and shit like that. So the leaves are the tiny roots, and the branches are the semi-large roots, and then the trunk of the tree is the taproot. And from that, you have an entire tree below ground and above ground. So if your tree above ground is really big and flourishing, then your root system below ground is doing the same thing. It has to be equal. Like some of the gurus or some of these guys that be trying to sound like they're spiritual, as above, so below and shit. But in actuality, that's just basic observation if you have the ability to do that. So that's a lot of stuff right there to think about, And these types of conversations aren't popular because when you look at the fact that, hold on, I didn't even realize my girls are out. Chicarinos are out. And it's cold out here, man. It's like low 40s out here. Yeah. So they like clucking around and doing shit. They're going to be getting ready to go back in here pretty soon. So not too far away from the Wi-Fi. Too far away from the Wi-Fi. But they want to go back in. So let me let them back in. All right, don't run. I ain't gonna mess with you. Just open your door for you. But look at this. All these birds. Guess where they headed? And see, they like to travel during the afternoon like this because they can travel based off of the sun. And they know if they go in a certain direction, that's right there is north. South. If they go in a certain direction based off of the sun, then they'll get to where they want to go. So, you see, ain't nothing in here. Nothing in there. But yeah, all of this stuff is just, it's weird how we all take it for granted. 3 eggs. 3 eggs. Put them together and grab them all at one time. Yeah, I've been raising these chickens for like 6 years. We're getting ready to get a whole new batch. But some of these chickens are 6, 7 years old, and they're not too smart. I see people sometimes making videos of got the chickens living with them in the house. That's crazy. That is crazy. Chickens don't have no idea of what's going on around them for the first couple years. I mean, literally, they are feeble-minded. And they don't know about their environment and shit. Most of the stuff that they do is just based off of what their environment has to offer. If a chicken doesn't have a roost, guess what it's gonna do? It's not gonna try to find the highest place to settle down and sleep. It's gonna sleep right there on the ground. Put a roost in there, and the chickens will go on that roost. That's because the thing exists. It's not because, they were smart enough to find a roost. It was because once you introduce it to them, they become curious and then they explore it. That's it. So I can't have another animal living in my house, shitting and pissing all over the place, and me not being able to monitor them 24/7 like we do our kids. Some of the birds are still out here. But that's all I'm doing today, man. I'm not going to do too much out here. Tomorrow I'm going to come out here and try and fix up this damn grapevine, tear all this shit down. I might do a little bit more. If not, And then I gotta fill in these planter boxes. I've already started with something that's gonna insulate them for the winter because these strawberries, they're not gonna survive if I don't. But that being said, hey man, don't trust nobody. Don't trust nobody. Do your due diligence. You know, if you can't figure it out, there's somebody out there that'll help you figure it out. But you gotta actually research and do your own work because most people are in it for themselves. They trying to get something out of this shit. They're not trying to help people out just for the you know, just for helping people. You know, like for instance, we have people that's, you know, asking for money even though they monetize through this shit. And I don't see why. Go girl. I don't see why. Why you need money when you monetize? And it's not because they're not getting no money or they're not getting what they think they owed. It's because of greed. And we just got to call a spade, man. It's just what it is. But let me go ahead and put these chickens back up in here and get them situated for tonight. And I'm going to holler at y'all next time. I don't know when, but next time. But salutes to the real ones. You know, that's been my motto for the past 6 or 7 months because there ain't too many real people out here. I mean, it's far and few in between, man. I mean, really far. People that's calling themselves real, shit, they not real. So be observant, be a skeptic first, and salutes to the real ones. I'm out.